successful. That's what I'm looking forward to.
1, 2, get down.
Now back to Justin Watkins with Cofield Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
So let's talk some law and legality at the federal level. We had a story come out yesterday. If people noticed that they got all worked up about the MAGA hat thing with Nick Bosa. I said a couple weeks ago, I don't care. I understand they have rules. Whatever. And they were going to fine him, and then the fine didn't come out until after the election. Wall Street Journal is saying, hey, the NFL was a little bit leery of what soon-to-be President Trump could do in retribution. And I was trying to come up with things that Trump could do to the NFL, but I had forgotten that back in 2015, the tax-exempt status, while some will credit someone for taking it away from the NFL made a strategic move at the time 9 years ago and was like, yeah, we're good. You know what? We don't want the exemption anymore.
Yeah, I mean, of course, anybody who's in power and if they have multiple branches of the government all on the same party, of course, there's tons of things they can do. I mean, if you just want to look at just what the House can do, and it looks like the Republicans will take the House narrowly by like a seat or two. I mean, the House did the investigations of the Commanders and Redskins, yeah. Right? So you know there's reports of owners and sort of questionable morals, and could they get involved and do that? Now, DC was particularly different because DC is not a state, and so they are overseen by the federal government, not by any sort of state government. So there's a little bit more of an in there for the House to get involved. So you could have some investigations as to whether or not people's rights are being violated in this workplace. I just don't see a lot other than a PR stunt, which you've noted he already sort of did. Like when Kaepernick came out, Trump was very much against don't watch the NFL. They're supporting this kneeling. And I don't really think that got anywhere from a measurable standpoint from TV.
Well, actually, it backfired completely because the NFL came out a couple of years later with the biggest TV deals in the history of the league or any league.
Well, and if you recall, like Nike went in on that and their stock prices hit all-time highs. So that sort of movement backfired. What could they do? I mean, who knows what all these rich owners know about each other and what is shared along the way.
Could there be a rogue?
Yeah, right.
Snyder was threatening to be the rogue who would break out of ranks and start telling stories.
Exactly. So, maybe Snyder I don't know if Snyder is a MAGA Trump Republican. I don't know. Maybe he starts saying, hey, I got a whole bunch of stuff. You want to get back at the NFL for this? Here's all the dirt. And they're violating federal and state laws. Like, get in, do an investigation, figure out about this. So sure, anytime one party is in power of all of the branches of government, can pendulum swing into extremes? Sure. Can personal vendettas kind of be pushed through and taken out on the government level? Yeah, I mean, I'm personally kind of a fan of gridlock in that sense, where there is multiple parties in different branches of power, and they have to have consensus to get something through. I think that's when we get our best policies through. So, I guess the answer is yes. I'm sure there's things he could do. I'm sure there's things that they can do and investigations that they could start and pressure that they could apply. Remember a lot of what the NFL, they don't have a tax exempt status anymore, but they are going to state governments all the time to get money to get funded for new stadiums, and that's just part of their business model now. Mm-hmm. It's just rotating around from market to market to market. We need money for upgrades, retrofits, new stadiums, and so you start standing in the way of that. They do need government relations,
right?
They do need government.
So this
relations.
Would be more of there could be an effect on individual owners if they wanted to speak up and step out of line. But that's what I was thinking too about retribution. These in general are not the people you'd want to go after who are big political donors. So right. we had an NFL related story now, whatever it was 2 weeks ago with Jason Kelsey. He was an announcer, played for the Eagles, Penn State kid walks up to him, calls him a slur. He grabs the kid's phone, spikes it. We have a story with Michael Strahan, which I think is a completely made up, and I'm not doing this for the next 4 years, a completely made up. There's outrage over this. I couldn't find outrage anywhere. Right? I couldn't. The story was Michael Strahan is a part of the Fox pregame on Veterans Day, and the other guys up there all have their hand over their hearts. He's got his hands, to his sides or in his pockets. Outrage! Why didn't he salute properly? Then it comes out his dad served in the military for 23 years. Again, I'm not going to get into debate the way you're supposed to behave or what you're supposed to do during the national anthem. We did this already, but because the pot's being stirred, someone walked up to him, a reporter on the street. This was in New York, right, Danny?
Yes.
In New York, has the phone, videoing him. Strahan's like, get away from me, puts his hand up. Eventually, the phone gets tossed into a bush, not spiked to the ground. Okay, that's a step. Don't break the phone, right? Don't break the phone.
I don't think breaking the phone matters as much as you have to pay for the phone. Like no matter what the circumstances, I think you break the phone, you probably got to pay for the phone.
So we're not safe throwing a phone.
Not from zero liability. You break somebody's phone, you got to pay for it, right? Kelsey's is obviously a little bit different because there's provocation. We talked about that. There was a slur that has been recognized by courts to be considered fighting words. They are, in essence, equivalent in the eyes of the law to a punch or a physical altercation. That didn't happen here. It was outside his home, but we just looked at the video. It looks like it's on a public sidewalk. So he doesn't have a right, quote unquote, to defend himself. The same way on a public sidewalk that he would on his own property, but I think the question would ultimately come down to this, like, has that reporter or has that person who's got the phone invaded his personal space in a way that he has a right to create a physical barrier back from himself in order to maintain his own safety and space. You are allowed your personal space. People can't come up and be right in front of your nose and you can't do anything about it. You are allowed to physically push them back. You see this all the time for celebrities, right? Their bouncers are pushing people back all the time. They're never getting sued for that because the people will come as close as you let them come, and they're entitled to their own personal space and safety. Whether or not anybody would believe that Michael Strahan was feeling physically intimidated by having that phone there or not, I still think that most jurors would think that when you put a phone in somebody's face, that it is reasonable to get that out of there. I do believe that most jurors would find that way. Now, I watched that video. It doesn't look like he's in his face. It looks like he's filming his face, but it doesn't look like he's really put the phone right up to him. So the question is, by grabbing the phone and throwing it in the bush, what's his liability? If the phone's damaged, he's got to pay for the phone. And I think, could he be liable for civil assault in doing it? And I think the answer is yes.
In a situation like this, at what point is there a case for him to make for harassment if this guy had been following him for a block or 2 blocks or whatever, and he asked him, hey, put the phone down, please get out of my face, and the guy just kept following him? Could he say that as well?
Only that middle part. Only if he's in his face, if he's in his personal space and there is this limitation on his movement so that he can't go where he wants to go, or he fears for his own personal safety. But if he's following him on a public sidewalk and he's got a phone behind him and he's firing off questions at him, no, he doesn't have a right to just go, I don't like your questions. I don't care if you're in a public place. Get out of here, push him away, take away his cell phone, take away his camera, whatever it is. No, there's not a right to do that. But you are entitled to your personal space. And I know you don't want to get into this, but I just want to go back to what started this all. We're similar ages. I was never taught in school. I don't know if you were taught this way. I was never taught in school. You didn't put your hand over your heart when the Star Spangled Banner was played. That was for the Pledge of Allegiance. And then your hands were down in front of you or at your sides. You stood up for the Star Spangled Banner. Is that not how it is taught? Or I see when I go to my kids' sports, all the kids do the hand over their heart. All of them do it. So I don't know if they're being taught that way, but I could just say for myself, I was never taught that way. And so like when somebody does hand over their heart or on their side, like I don't see any difference. Stand up, remove your hat. That's the rules. That's the decorum to me.
I was taught to put my hand over my heart.
Okay. And you're younger than us.
Yeah.
So. Were you taught to put your hand over your heart?
I'm just going to say, I think this is faux outrage.
Yeah.
And I don't remember being taught anything.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think that many people are outraged about it. I think this is convenient. I think because it's Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
They're trying to turn this into a flashpoint. He's got a brand. He's on Good Morning America. He spoke about this at length, which I actually find it outrageous.
Yeah.
So, but I do, you know what? I do want to mention everyone, happy Veterans Day.
Yep.
Right. Because we didn't really get into it yesterday. And thank you to the 31 veterans dead and alive in my family going back to World War I. And thanks to my father who served, and thanks to my essentially father-in-law who served. So I'm going to do what I want. And Michael Strahan can do what he wants. Michael Strahan actually had to answer the question about not having his hand over his heart. Hey, were you protesting?
Right.
Are you insane? Like who, like, but this is the game that we're going to play again. And that's why I don't really want to get into it, because I feel like it's punching down. I feel like it's absolute trolling.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But I mean, when you're a brand and your brand is talking about stuff like this, I mean, he's on shows that talk about silly stuff like this all the time. So yeah, I think it's fair game for him to have to answer the question. I don't care. I think it's perfectly acceptable. And I've traveled the country and represented this country in athletics overseas. And I just don't remember it being that way. We all stood hands in front or hands in back, and we stayed for the Star Swimming banner.
You know, a lot of lawyers who advertise here don't even live here. If they say Nevada, they're not from around here. If they think our capital is Las Vegas, they're not from around here. I'm Richard Harris, and I am from Nevada. I grew up here. I went to school here. I raised my family here. No one knows Nevada like we do. If you've been injured, call me, Richard Harris, of the Richard Harris Law Firm, 444-4444, just in case.
Looking for a credit union that truly understands your needs? Welcome to West Star Credit Union. For nearly 50 years, West Star Credit Union has been dedicated to serving the gaming, hospitality, and entertainment industries in Nevada. So whether you're on the strip or off the clock, we're all about making your money work as hard as you do. For a limited time, you can earn $100 for every friend you refer to West Star Credit Union. And because we're all about sharing the love, we'll give your friend $50 for joining. Visit weststar.org to learn more.
Raiders 101 is brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Book now at Allegiant.com.
Year 2 in LA proves to be magical for the Silver and Black as they dismantle the Seahawks in the AFC Championship game and head to the Super Bowl matchup against Washington. Behind stellar performances by Jim Plunkett and MVP Marcus Allen, the Raiders win 38-9, securing their third Super Bowl win in franchise history.
Raiders 101 was brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. That's what a hamburger's all about.
At In-N-Out, we like to think of ourselves as the vintage muscle car of burgers. After all, both are handcrafted, made with an appreciation for every detail. One with the finest materials, the other with the freshest ingredients. And seeing either one brings a smile to your face. Muscle cars and double doubles are all American classics, and both are gone in seconds.
I'm Eli Manning.
And I'm Peyton Manning. We want to tell you about the Caesars Sportsbook Nevada app with Caesars Rewards.
You can instantly redeem your Caesars Reward credits for sports bets right on the app.
You can also use the Caesars Reward credits earned on the app for meals and experiences at 15 resorts across the state, including the Bacchanal Buffet at Caesars Palace.
Don't forget those tier credits. With your wagers on the Caesars Sportsbook Nevada app, you can unlock free parking and much more.
Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
There's been times, obviously, with turnovers and other things that have taken place where we made decisions to either put him on the bench or go to another quarterback. But this week, I felt like, Gardner gives us the best opportunity to move forward. What we got to lose at this point, right? 2-7. So everything that's behind us is behind us, and I'm looking forward to everything in front of me.
We'll get into Antonio Pierce in the 5 o'clock hour. By the way, we're rolling live right now on Facebook and on YouTube and Twitter. If you watch during the break, gesturing all over the place. I think I mentioned before the break, Veterans Day yesterday was Monday, but it feels like this Strahan thing is kind of dragged out now for a week plus. Justin Watkins is here. Last couple minutes with Justin. Unless you want to stay longer, we kind of squeeze. We didn't even get to the CFP yet, but I respect your time. Give me something that popped up to you in the CFP rankings the second time around here.
Oh, I mean, when you just sent it over, I hadn't seen it yet, but when you first sent it over, I was like, oh, 4 of the top 5 are Big Ten. Every time I look at it, I'm looking at an eye of, are they screwing the non-power conferences in their rankings? I still believe they're holding back Boise State. They have the same loss. They have virtually the exact same loss that Ohio State has. That's their only loss. They are definitely screwing Washington State. Washington State's strength of schedule is better than almost every team up above them. And
how did I mention this last hour? How did Kansas State not play after losing to Houston, a terrible team, and move up 4 spots? And now Colorado jetted in 2 weeks to the 17 hole.
Because they got to keep Washington State back. I mean, it's like
they're keeping Washington State back, and I think they're prepping one of those has to jump Boise State, so that Boise State can't get the 4 seed and the bye. And you can also see they're kind of setting up the SEC logjam, where they're going to have flexibility no matter what happens down the stretch here to make sure at least 2, if not 3, SEC teams are in.
I mean, they're doing the same thing with the Big 12, right? It's Colorado, Kansas State. SMU is not good. I
think SMU could be really dangerous. I don't think okay. Well, this could be an overall ACC take.
Yeah.
Maybe the ACC isn't very good, but I would have a toss-up spot with SMU, Clemson, SMU, Miami.
I mean, I still go back to their early season struggles, I guess. I can't get the Nevada game out of my head. That should have absolutely been a loss for SMU. Absolutely should have been a loss. I watch them most weekends because their time slot fits. They have not shown anything that's impressive to me in any of their games. I think the ACC is weak this year. I think Miami should have 2 losses. Clemson has 2 losses. And both of those teams, I think, in watching them, are way better than SMU. Now, Miami doesn't have 2 losses. They've only got 1. But I also think Miami will lose to Clemson. Clemson will be the 2-loss champ. SMU is not going to be in the conversation. They have not played a tough schedule yet. They have not played anybody that's really dangerous. They've only played teams that are manufactured dangerous. Yes, they're ranked, but they really shouldn't be ranked. Like the fact that Kansas State's still in the rankings, I don't understand it in this high. And when you look at Washington State's schedule and the non-conference schedule that they played all power teams. They beat all those power teams. They didn't lose to them, and if they had Boise State and Washington State can only take it at large. They can't take one of the conference champions, but they're not going to let that happen.
No.
They're not going to let it happen.
They have a good chance to go 11-1.
I think they're definitely going to go 11-1. Yep. Now they're at the easier part of their schedule. The rest of their schedule, I mean, Oregon State, I loved Caleb Herring saying giving Oregon State props. Oregon State, unless they get really healthy really quickly, and there's no reason to think that that's going to happen, is Washington State's going to run all over them. Boise State's going to run all over them. I really don't think they're going to hit bowl eligibility. They don't have the bodies, and they have so many injuries. They're not going to get there quick enough.
Can I be obnoxious and tie together the Strahan topic?
Sure.
How many SEC fans who are outraged at Michael Strahan are also outraged that Army is getting effed?
Yeah, exactly. None.
Not patriotic.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I don't do these, because that's the absurdity of it. I love college football. I actually think Army could beat a lot of these teams that are above them if they get in the right position, take the lead. But man, we are set up for a great close to the season. Justin, thank you.
Traffic is brought to you by Port of Subs. Stop in today or order at portofsubs.com or on our app.